How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I'm going to go and do a mission called Disrupted Supplies, where I've got to go and collect and then deliver two lots of rail section, and they're 5 slot cargo. On some previous phases, there've been 4 slot. I definitely was able to fit one on a ramped flatbed, but yeah, you can't on this phase. So first things first, I'm going to go from like the garage on what's this map called again? Mountain Ridge, I believe. I hope. Yeah, to the second map by the lake, I think. I'm pretty sure that's the second one. And then once I'm there, I'll kind of draw the line and go through it. But yeah, it's one of the contracts. I believe it's in the top set of contracts. A couple of reasons why I wanted to do this mission, or I should say I sort of ended up settling on it, since it takes me bloody ages to even pick a mission these days. And kind of why I'm running the setup I am and everything. Like I say, you've got 2 lots of rail sections to deliver, and where you collect them from is on the second map by the lake. There's a big rail bridge that, whilst exploring the map, I wasn't able to cross, but subsequent testing, it kind of turns out that you can cross the rail bridge, but you've got to have quite a narrow truck, really. Like when I did the exploration video, I believe I was using the Zik 605R, and that was just too wide. I've taken the Dolphin. That's what she said for a couple of the previous sentences. The Dolphin actually was able to fit, but I believe I had a step deck trailer, and that was too wide. So yeah, that was just kind of like, I was stuck at that point again anyway. Had to go around the long way. So yeah, there's a couple of possible workarounds, but one thing I wanted to try was, like, is there a setup possible where you can actually load the rail track kind of onto the trailer and have a truck that's narrow enough and all the rest of it. And there's a couple of options. As I was going through it, I ended up spending quite a while just trying to pick which truck, because I was just going through. There's quite a few options. The Crocodile, that truck's probably got to be like one of the smallest that can have a saddle low and all the rest of it. For what I was planning though, I did need a crane. Otherwise, to be honest, you're going to need a crane really anyway, because this is a bit of an exception to the rule in a way, where you don't just drive to the square and click like cargo management and it automatically unpacks it. You have to lift the cargo off the trailer. If you really wanted to do it without a trailer, you'd have to road train 2 trucks, and then I suppose when you get there you could kind of detach the trailer and tip the trailer to make it auto unpack the cargo kind of on top of the yellow square. Yeah, it's just one of those really where you're best off taking a crane. Yeah, so now I'm on the second map. I'm going to follow the main road all the way down to the bottom, kind of curve off there and loop round, grab the rail sections, and then I was planning to go across the bridge. On the other side of the bridge is where you got to deliver one of them, and then follow. I'm going to follow like the train tracks, keep going basically. Yeah, and then further up the tracks there's like the second one you've got to drop off. And I had my reasons. Like, I mean, I'm always going to bring a goddamn horse with me anyway, because you never know. He always finds a way. But yeah, I had a reason why I wanted to bring 2, and then I chose the. Most of the time, I don't normally use this trailer. I tend to, I like this trailer. It's just, objectively speaking, there's a little bit more gain from the sideboard trailer just every now and then, especially as I drive a little bit on the eager side. Yeah, if you tip a little bit too much and it auto unpacks the cargo, it's just with the sideboard you've got a little extra chance of it staying on the trailer. But yeah, for this one, I believe they're probably about the same width anyway. Like, but nonetheless, I wanted the absolute narrowest trailer I could. And yeah, I believe this one was looking pretty good. Just clipped a lamppost there with the old loaf. At least he didn't get snagged on it or anything. And then yeah, in the end as well, obviously size-wise, like how narrow this truck is one of the reasons I went for this. It's part of the Wolfpack trucks. I believe this one is the 1430. I did actually build the 1424. I was going to use that, but then it can't even have a crane on it. So that kind of scrapped that idea pretty quickly. Hence why then, in the end, I was like, well, I'll just get the bigger version of it. Yeah, that's definitely what she said. Yeah, out of the 3 Wolfpack trucks, the 57X I really like, just because it's a very good looking truck. It's a highway truck that's actually pretty respectable off-roads, considering it's like a highway truck and all the rest of it. This It's got the double axles and that in the way, but it is just better than the 1424, I think, because, yeah, the 1424's got such a small chassis that you just can't really put a lot on it. By the way, when I was driving along here, this truck does understeer a little bit more like when you go in high speed. I ended up going a bit wide there and I smashed into the barrier. It stopped me dead, stalled me. Now I'm going to edit. I'm back coming up to the same place. This time I need to steer a little bit better. You'll see in a minute, it's nothing major, it wasn't even to do with this mission, but the reason why I kind of what's it called, save, quit and reload thing, like, and it loaded me back there, so yeah, I kind of got a second attempt at going around that corner. Yeah, like I say, when I hit it the first time, it, even though it's just kind of clipping the side of my truck, it, yeah, smashed the engine up pretty good, and yeah, stalled me as well, but then I pulled off just fine. This truck, I have to say, is I was pretty happy with it overall tonight. Even on the first map, when I went from the garage to the gateway, the swampy section I cut over. The other option, I could have followed the main road the longer way, but one of the roadblocks I've not cleared yet, and two, I knew I was going to drive along the road on this map and all the rest of it, so I cut across the swamp. And to this truck's credit, I'm pretty certain I stayed in high gear the entire time. It managed to bump over a couple of like the muddier bits. Right, so this is the first attempt, and this is why I ended up quitting and reloading. As I drove past there, that's a mission you can do, and I crashed into it just because I was having fun. And the trailer and everything came apart, and I just thought, I wonder if, like, did I just smash them apart, or I wasn't too sure. So I came flying in a second time. I was listening to, what was it, Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. That really wasn't helping. It even said the collision part like 3 seconds before then, so yeah, I was coming in a bit hot. Swerved out the way, smashed into a lamppost. I just put a winch to the trailer. I believe that the trailer and that Yar 87 are separate. The reason why I wanted to double back and check is one, because I crashed into them and they separated, and I just figured, I'm assuming the mission is going to ask me to take the Yar 87 and that trailer to some kind of destination, and I thought, in theory, if it was still attached to the Yar, then I could just tow them in one, whereas obviously as separate pieces, I'm either going to have to tow them separately or kind of find a way to mash them all together and get that done in one. Yeah, as far as I'm aware though, I did kind of, when I smashed into that lamppost the second time, my trailer did skid a little bit sideways, but, and clip the Yar. I don't think either of my crashes into it would detach the trailer if it was originally attached, so yeah, it doesn't really matter. I'll send in a goddamn horse, I'll just attach the trailer to the loaf, and then yeah, either jump him in a truck and then tow the Yar, or I'll figure it out. But yeah, anyway, on this map, pretty simple drive for the most part to get here. Again, even the last little muddy section, this truck is it's doing pretty well, considering it's got the 2 axles and that as well that potentially get in the way. And yeah, it feels like a little bit more of an off-roady truck, but certainly leaning towards the highway kind of side of things, you'd assume. But so far, it's it kind of held its own pretty well. I thought it would kick me out of high gear as I go across that first swamp, so even after that I was kind of quite happy with how it was going. And then yeah, this is kind of the temporary construction area, or whatever it's called. You can see the plane there on the trailer. That's going to be a future mission, which, to be honest, I'll try and get around to that fairly soon, because I'm sort of looking forward to that one. Yeah, so from here spawn 2 lots of rail sections. One I've put on the trailer, and then one, this is why I brought 2 loaves. It's even there, just as I'm swinging the cargo around. It worked out pretty nicely to disconnect the cargo and re-grab it, just so its momentum didn't swing the rail section like another 90 degrees and make me sit here for 4 minutes or something trying to rotate it back. You could kind of see then the rotation mechanics kicking in. They were quite swift in kicking on this rail section. Normally it's not, even though it's still horrifically slow overall. It's still a little bit quicker than the usual horrific slowness. But yeah, my plan was looking pretty good, because when I did this on the live stream, I believe I balanced one of the beams on one loaf and just drove it over that way. So just for the sakes of seeing if this would be a better way, because obviously once you had like one loaf and you balance it on it, it's good, but when you floor it, it can get a little bit keen and it can sort of like try and tip the rail section back and all the rest of it. So I just wanted to see if two together, and then yeah, stick a winch. I'm driving the front loaf, stick a winch to the rear loaf, and then they just kind of zombie winch, like following each other like a little mini road train. However, I got caught on like this narrow invisible wall that's on the bridge, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. And then I also hit the wrong button. I can't remember now, just looking at the footage, but I thought I was in reverse or something and I was in forward, so I messed it up. I ended up, it was just easier to go back to one loaf for now, just getting through. Yeah, like now there's an invisible barrier that I've just about squeezed my way through. And then I was just trying to think, well, what way around should I do it? Now I'm in the rear loaf, fired a zombie winch to the front loaf, and yeah, still ticking along. So I don't know, we're a good halfway across the bridge by now. And this was kind of, well, this was plan one. As far as getting the first rail section over, obviously the truck I was hoping is able to fit through this bridge, but I didn't know at this point. I sent these first, and then yeah, it was getting a bit wobbly at this point. Just between, to be honest, I was half concentrating. I could have done a lot smoother job at this, I believe. It was some of my lack of concentration that wasn't really helping. I kept stopping and starting and flooring it and braking and all sorts, and it was kind of wiggling the rail further to the back of that loaf. So yeah, send loaf number one over these barriers. That's one nice thing. If you do cut across this bridge, because narrower vehicles can, you've got these stupid barriers at each, or no, well, sorry, at this end of the bridge. Doing this mission will actually get rid of those, which is quite nice, just because they are a little bit like aggressively hitboxy and yeah, potentially a bit annoying. So as I was driving along, I think I gave it a bit too much juice, a bit too much horsepower, and the rail started tipping off the back. So stuck it in reverse. I was like, oh, it's looking good, but you see, then I just was too eager on the handbrake. So as soon as it got up on the roof, I kind of slammed on too hard and it skidded off the back again. Yeah, one more go though. See, loaf training. Now I know how to get a rail on the roof. This is how you learn these things. You just got to throw yourself in there and see what happens. Loaf's doing a bit of drifting, Tokyo Loaf style. Yeah, this actually worked out very nicely. The thought had crossed my mind, but I didn't even bother to attempt it. But then it just so happened now that I was like, this was why I was panning the camera around. I was like, oh, could this work? This goddamn horse didn't even need to fire a winch. Yeah, the rail just happened to tip off me, and it's now sitting perfectly as well. I couldn't have judged it better if I purposely did it. I purposely did it once I drove the loaf out the way there, but yeah, up until that point I wasn't really, it was too much wishful thinking. Yeah, the rails ended up propping like on the tracks and then just sitting on that barrier that's in the way, which, yeah, kind of, there was something I was curious to see if it would work or not. See, there's that invisible wall again. I clipped it with something, but this truck and the crane, because I was curious to see if the legs of the crane would catch as well. They're probably going to be just about the widest part of this truck, and yeah, the trailer fit through as well. And yeah, that's what I liked about that rail. It just, even though I'm sure I could smash this truck into those barriers and winch, and I'll get over one way or another, I'll send in the loaf if I have to, but it was pretty nice to just worked out that yeah, rail's now like a little ramp. I was able to just jump straight over, and then see, just the other day, like doing that ore stoke sign mission or whatever, that is, it ore stoke or ore stroke? I think it's ore stoke, because ore stroke is the one I would probably say. Yeah, like building that sign, everything just went tits up. Whereas in this mission, things were going pretty nicely. I was still able to reach the rail section with the crane after I'd driven like enough over to not be sat on the rail section. Dragged it forward. Again, a goddamn horse gets over loaf. Yeah, as this mission requires you to kind of sit the cargo on the floor and then click cargo management that way, the loaf was already there and I was able to kind of drop the cargo off. So in theory, you could have actually like just drive in with the rails on the roof. Yeah, well, you could do this mission. You need a crane to, when you spawn the rails, to put them on the roof of the loaf. But in theory, you could deliver both of these rail sections with just a loaf. Yeah, I was pretty happy with that though. Once it offered me like the option to like cargo management and actually deliver that first rail without kind of moaning that, yeah, I haven't got a trailer or something like that. This is one of those few missions where it actually doesn't matter. And then yeah, I got a bit excited, so I thought, right, set off in the Lo for a bit, do a bit of road train action, which he's doing pretty well at. Bit of first person view. I'm not sure what that one says. That one says, I believe, was it Isle of or Stoke? And personally, I could have happily just carried on driving all the way to the destination. I just knew I'll probably just switch back to the truck and drop the hammer. Even though, yeah, I was very happy with the Lo4f. Doing a mighty fine job. See him jump out of the way then when he knew. Fire a winch to him. Yeah, once I'm in high gear and this just ticks along at a nicer speed. It's a shame still that it sort of purposely forces you into a lower speed when you're doing a road train, because I can get it to a degree, but it'd be nice if they upped it by a few miles an hour. Yeah, surprisingly I kept swerving off the rails quite a lot. One nice thing in theory when you're driving along the rails, your wheels kind of hook on them, but yeah, as you can see, this one not so much. But a pretty simple mission, especially once you get across that bridge. If you can't get across the bridge, you basically just have to go along the water. I don't know if you're looking like the map facing north or whatever, the water's like to the right, and it's pretty simple. I'd imagine this truck would make it over with no issues and all the rest of it. But yeah, just on principle and it being a shorter distance, and the fact that I don't think they should even have like narrow invisible gaps on that bridge, I just like using the bridge. And yeah, any excuse to try and get across it. Now, like I say, it's pretty cool that this delivering these actually gets rid of those little barriers. The one near that bridge being like a particularly important one. This second rail section you deliver, it does remove some barriers, but unless there's some future mission doing something, I don't know, it doesn't matter that much. It was close. I just thought I'll clip the edge of that repair box, and yeah, swerved at the last second. I've been out as close as I can get without officially smashing into the back of that truck, because I kind of glanced the hitboxes, the corner of each hitbox off each other, so I took a little bit of engine damage. But it was worth the overall trade, because it did fix my suspension, and like it fixed my engine before I took a tiny hit. Yeah, driving along, snagged the old Lo4f on one of those lampposts. But you see, that's one thing I like about the Lo4f as well. A lot of vehicles and everything, once you get them snagged on something, they're kind of hooked on it, and that's it. You've got to do some reverse and all sorts. And obviously, at the minute, that means I'd have to switch vehicle and everything. But the Lo4f, you can kind of drop the hammer, and he'll just keep wiggling his way until he wiggles off of a truck he's snagged on. It's OG Lo4f, goddamn professional. I was like, oh yeah, I need to go and recover him at some point, because it's too good just to be sitting out there in the wild. But yeah, it was OG Lo4f, the one that started it all. He's probably around his 3rd birthday now, you know. Probably bought him about 3 years ago. Probably a bit earlier. Have to find out. Yeah, so get to this one, drop that rail off. Long story short, I reversed the truck up. It just wasn't offering me the cargo management with the truck. Don't know why, but I didn't even test for more than a couple of seconds. I was like, right, I'll switch to the Lo4f. He'll get the job done, and wouldn't you know it, he did. Yeah, I think this mission, is it £7 grand payout? I don't know, not terrible, not amazing. Yeah, nice to get those barriers out of the way. I was happy that I was able to cross the bridge. This truck, the 1430, I have to say, actually felt pretty respectable, considering like I wasn't expecting amazing things off it. I went for the truck specifically because it just looked narrow enough that it had a pretty good chance of like the crane and the trailer and everything getting over the bridge. And then yeah, this last little bit, to be honest, there wasn't anything in particular. I don't know. After I did the video, I eyeballed them rocks. I said to myself, I bet the Lo4f can climb them, and then he did. And then I seen these ones, and I said, oh, I bet he can climb them as well. And then he did. See, he's goddamn professional. Get yourself a Lo4f. Yet again, it's proved his worth. He felt that one a little bit, but he didn't give up. Yeah, that's about it for today though. I hope you enjoyed, I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Get yourself a Lo4f because he's a goddamn whopper, and I'll be back soon.